My name is Connie, and I am the shelter director at ARCS.
My name is Roy Lutz. I work for the Violence Free Coalition, the Prevention Division for the Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter.
I'm Kim Parker, and I am the therapist at ARCS. I'm a licensed professional counselor.
My name is Kim Smith, and I'm one of the legal advocates at the Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter. As a legal advocate, I assist victims with domestic violence civil protection orders, stalking civil protection orders, and I meet them at court. I help them fill out their paperwork for a petition, and I do accompany them into their hearings and support them through that entire process.
The majority of our clients are survivors of domestic violence. We do also have some sexual assault survivors that come to us, and so this is a place for them to land for a short time until they can move on and get their lives together.
The primary things that lead my clients to come see me, to seek therapy, are abuse. And they're hurting from the abuse. A lot of them have really lost touch with who they are because in many cases they've been told that their opinions don't matter, or that they are remembering things wrong or are doing things wrong, and they've just lost that sense of who they are.
I work as a violence prevention coordinator in the Coaching Boys into Men program, where I go into Warren County high schools and I work directly with coaches in educating them on the issues of intimate partner violence, teen dating violence, and bullying.
That I wish the community knew is that this is more prevalent than they realize. You hear the statistics. The statistics currently are 1 in 4 women will be a survivor of some kind of domestic violence or sexual assault.
And domestic violence and sexual assault and stalking, it doesn't discriminate. This can happen to anyone.
So it takes away everything that a person has, both their physical safety, their emotional stability, the emotional stability of their children if there are children involved. It takes away so much just from the standpoint of they have nowhere to go. They have no way to fix what's happening. And the longer you live in that, the more you think that's normal.
My clients, frankly, the vast majority of them, nearly all of them, have such limited resources that they don't have a lot of other options to get this help that they need. And so I think without this service, they would simply try to manage on their own. And that works for some people, it really does. But there's some greater healing and some faster healing that can be done when you work with a professional.
Intimate partner violence and bullying and hazing and any other number of forms of violence. We see this as a significant problem in schools today, where we are trying to go in then and teach with our violence prevention programs to teach on these issues, educate on these issues.
A lot of our clients, as I said, they're coming to court. They don't understand the system. They don't understand what's happening, and they just think, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to do some paperwork and I'm going to have a protection order in no time. And they don't understand sometimes that they have to go before a magistrate or a judge, and they don't understand what's happening. And without legal advocates or victim advocates, they're lost.
Well, it actually started in 1984, but the part of my story that led me to ARCS would have been in 1989. I was a junior in high school, and I started dating a guy who I thought was Prince Charming, but he ended up not being, and I very shortly found out that he was an abusive man, and By that time, we had been married a year and a half. We had a daughter that was 2, and a couple weeks before, well, it was probably a month before Christmas, I was at work, and he called me at work, and I could hear him breaking things, and he was just in a rage. And he told me if I was there at the time, it would have been my head rather than my belongings. So I decided I couldn't go home. I didn't feel like it was safe to go home. So that's when I called the shelter, and I entered this shelter that night. We were provided a safe place to stay, meals, transportation. I did have a car at the time, so I just needed a ride to that parking lot. And there was support groups made available that I utilized, and they did hook me up with legal aid. They had a wonderful, it would have been what we call now the Children's Advocate, that I think she made the most impact for me at that time. I think just the fact that I realized at that time that I could do it on my own, and I wasn't bound by the control he had over me. And going in, I didn't realize that. So even though I did return to that relationship for a couple years, I always kept that tucked in the back of my head that, you know what, I can do it. I just had to get to that place where I felt like I could do it. And my children were getting older. So my daughter was about 5 and my son was about 2. And the older they got and the more traits I saw coming out of them that they were learning from being in that environment, I realized that this has to stop, and I can't let them grow up and think this is normal. I always said I didn't want my daughter to grow up and think that that's how a man should treat her, and then later I went on to have a son, and I said I didn't want him to grow up and think that's how he should treat a woman. So they definitely were my motivation at that time. I am a shelter advocate and case manager at the Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter of Warren County. Now, I don't always tell them right up front that I've been here and done that, but there's always a moment where it seems to lead into that, or another of my coworkers might tell them, and then they'll come to me. So I've had a lot of the women look at me and say, you know, just because like I know like you've done it and you got out, I know I can do it too. And my compassion comes through what I went through as a young mother. I would tell them just how life-changing that step can make, and that it does sound scary thinking of coming to a shelter, but it's not that way at all. Once they get there, and they can do it. You know, I feel like if I can do it, anybody can do it.
If ARCS didn't exist, being the only domestic violence shelter in our community, it saddens me to think of the number of people who would have nowhere to reach out to. I think the statistics might be a little higher. If you have nowhere to go, you have to stay. And the longer you stay, the more your chances are of something bad happening.
I think they need a safe place where they can go to heal and to get on their feet. And if we didn't exist, they would probably just stay in the relationship they're in. A lot of them don't have family that they can lean on, and we are all they have.
And I think the recipients of our violence prevention education feel a pride in having learned some new information that that they can take back to their schools, to their classrooms, to their homes and neighborhoods, and help make their schools and communities a safer place.
So to be able to come to ARCS and feel that support, where we get them, we understand what they're going through, and they can take their time to reveal what they need to reveal and share it and heal from it, is a tremendous help for them.
Thanks. I work for the Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter because I found the most dedicated, most loving, most caring people here, people who really want to be the change in the world, and I'm just inspired every day to work here, and I'm grateful for every opportunity I'm given. So.
And so for me to be working here at ARCS, I've come full circle. It's what I feel I was meant to do, and I love coming to work every day. It's hard to hear some of the stories that I hear, but I feel so privileged to be able to be there for the women as they share their stories, and for them to know that they have a safe space with me.
I love that we empower people. I love that we encourage them.
And I love watching the women grow while they're with us. We do our best to empower them and tell them how strong they are and encourage them every day.
We are planting seeds of courage, and we are here to support these victims and survivors, and we want them to know that we're here when they need us. We're here all along the journey. We're here every step of the way.
And we've had numerous people come to us and say, when I came here, I was at the bottom. But because of you, and because of your staff, and because of the constant encouragement, I know that I can do this.